Hi guys, so we're back with another voice memo. This one is in regards to the topic of authenticity. Okay, so again, I will be channeling through and speaking about authenticity and hopefully helping people heal to keep being their authentic selves. Okay, so I would consider myself a pretty authentic soul since I was young. My dad always told me to be myself. He really cultivated that in me. He was like, always be yourself, always be yourself. He would be like, don't try to be anybody else because being you is beautiful. So make sure that you're always yourself and that you love yourself. So that's something that he always told me when I was growing up. And I listened. And as I'm getting older, right, I'm only embodying more of my authenticity and more of who I am. So this is to help any individuals who struggle with their authenticity, okay? And now there's a lot of paths here, okay? And because first and foremost, right, global influence, as in media influence, globally, right, you don't see authenticity. You don't see authenticity on TV. It doesn't matter what culture. I think like the most authentic person that I've seen are like a couple, like just like two singers that I would say they're pretty authentic. But other than that, you know, the media doesn't really push out anything about authenticity, right? Like you don't see anything on social media, on the news. You don't see those type of advertisements, right? So because all these like unrealistic beauty standards are being pushed, right? A lot of people strip themselves from their own truth of who they are, you know? And on top of other reasons, such as like you know, if you grow up right in a household where people make you think that being you is unacceptable, you know? So there's a lot of things, right? So my intention with this is just to help people be more authentic to themselves and to not be afraid to be authentic, okay? When you choose to be yourself, really, when you're like, I'm gonna be authentic, you're honestly choosing to be brave. You're choosing to be brave because every single layer of that onion is being stripped away. You get what I'm saying? So you're completely naked out in the world because you're just who you are, right? You're just being yourself. You're just who you are. And it's not a bad thing, you know? It's a beautiful thing. The world does kind of sometimes they don't notice, right, when they meet an authentic person, or sometimes they do, and it kind of shocks their world in a way because they start questioning all these things, right? They're like, what the hell, like what, you know? They start like thinking certain things. So it's kind of like I forget what it's called in spiritual terms, but anyways, okay, so authenticity, okay? So in order to be more yourself, right, you have to choose to also heal, okay? Now healing doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, okay? That's not true. It's just you just heal, man. Like everybody has trauma, okay? When you begin to heal, right, you embody parts of yourself who you truly are, okay? And you become really like strong in who you are, you know, and you understand that there's nothing wrong with being true to yourself, okay? So the way that I was like, I'm just gonna be who I am, was because really, I never compared myself to any girl. I never compared myself growing up, because I felt like what I saw in them was also in me, you know? Even if I was like, oh, this person's here and I'm there, I always saw it like a mirror. I always saw it like, oh, because they're there, that means that I can also do it. I just have to work on whatever I have to work on. That's how my mentality was when I was little. Also, I never fed myself media where I just like willingly self-abused myself, you know, like comparing myself or like wanting to be somebody else or anything like that. Like I had never done that. I do know that a lot of girls or even men, right, it's like so easy to like start comparing yourself, right? But that's honestly one key point that needs to be healed as well, because we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to anyone, really. The only person you should be comparing yourself is like you and the person that you were like the day before. You get what I'm saying? So that's like a key point where you can heal, right? Now, if others compare you, it's never about you. It's always just a reflection of them comparing themselves to another person, and they just project that outwards. Okay? Another thing with authenticity is I've noticed that some individuals struggle with being authentic because it's painful, right? It's painful, and it's painful, right? You're conditioned if you grow up to be told like, oh, you shouldn't be this, you shouldn't be that, or you should be this, or you should be that, you know? So you kind of start to mold yourself in order to adapt into this world, right? But you kind of have to be a rebel, you know? Like being in your true authentic self is kind of like being a rebel, because you're choosing to be yourself, right? You're choosing to be that rebel of who you are, because obviously it's not really seen everywhere. It doesn't mean that it's like extinct, you know? Authenticity exists out there, but you kind of have to choose to be a rebel, you know? You kind of have to choose to be brave and really let go of the expectations that others have of you and the expectations that you have of yourself, you know? Because who you truly are, right, is beautiful. Because if we think about, right, if you're like a guy or a girl, right, if you think about the inner child version of you when you were like 5, right, you need to look at them and tell them like there is nothing wrong with you, you know? Like that is who you are, and you're only gonna grow more into who you are and who you will become, right? So you kind of have this like inner child healing, right, that you go through to keep reaching these parts of yourself that are authentic. Now let's say, oh, well, at my job or at my school or at my this, at my that, it requires me to leave parts of myself that are true to who I am. That means that you're not supposed to be there, and you're not in alignment with that place, you know? Because when you are in alignment, you should never abandon parts of yourself just to fit somewhere, you know? And if you do, like that place is not for you, and you need to practice self-love and remove yourself from those places, because no place, person, or thing should ever have you leave parts of yourself who are truly who you are, you know? Obviously, like, I'm speaking in terms of like not hurting anyone. You get what I'm saying? Like if you know you have some shit to work on, like work on it. But I'm speaking from a place of like you're not hurting anyone, okay? That's where I'm coming from with this voice memo. So another thing to work and heal on is self what is it? Approval of self. So what does this mean is that you don't seek approval from anyone, okay? You don't seek approval from anyone. You begin to heal, really. You don't seek from your parents, from family, from friends, You don't seek any approval, because like I said, being truly who you are, it's like you kind of being like a rebel, you know, because you're going the opposite way of what society has conditioned people, okay? Because like I said, we don't see this on the news, we don't see these, like, we don't see this on social media. Like, recently now I started seeing things about authenticity and things like that, but growing up I never like saw anything, or not even on TV or nothing. And when I was growing up, I never realized that I was like walking on my true authentic path until I think when I had my spiritual awakening. And then I was like, oh shit, I kind of realized, I was like, oh crap, what the heck? Like, I had like this whole awakening of like, whoa. Of like, okay, I'm like walking on my true path, and like there's a huge misalignment. And it was really weird, you know, because like I said, like I always grew up with my dad telling me to be who I am. And I grew up pretty shelled, you know. My parents are really strict. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of thankful now, because shit really gets fucked up in this world. But anyways, yeah, so I started realizing, I was like, you know what? I can help people like become who they are, you know? And I never like judge or anything. I just always understand like, oh, like, you know, sometimes it's something that happened when they were young. And sometimes people really, really, really struggle to be authentically who they are, because there's so much fear, you know? And it makes sense. Even the LGBT, no, not the LGBT. The, like, even like transgenders, like, they're like, transgenders and authenticity kind of push the same message of like, let us be who we are, you know? So it's kind of interesting, because it's just like allow yourself to be who you are, you know? God, like, the universe doesn't love us any less. The universe loves us exactly how we are, you know? So the more that you walk on your true authentic path that feels right to you in your heart, in your soul, is what is in alignment, okay? So I was thinking, I was like, you know what? Like, I can help individuals like walk more in their authentic path. And honestly, there's a lot that goes into it, because I also started learning that when you, let's say like, oh, this person is not authentic to themselves, you know, this person is this person is that, you have to understand that some people don't have the strength that they need. It's not that they're weak, no, it's just some individuals, some souls out there, right, they don't have like the strength to like keep walking with who they are because of trauma or because of severe backlash, you know? So when you walk on your true path, right, this is why I always pray for strength, because it's not easy. It's not easy, because you face projections from people, you know? I think I'll make a different voice memo on projections, but you face projections, you face like not like backlash, but some people kind of struggle with people who are in their true authentic path, because it bothers their unauthenticity. You get what I'm saying? It bothers their unauthenticity. And also, people tend to have entities, okay? I've spoken about entities before. People have entities. This is why people say, oh, this person is unauthentic and blah, 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 right? You have to keep in mind that a person also has entities in them. And those entities are shed the way that an onion sheds when you shed an onion. So you shed an entity. Does that make sense? This is just something that I recently started seeing as I continued my spiritual evolution. You can see these entities, like if you look at a person, right, and they're like bothered by your authenticity, and like you see like their face, like it twitches, that's an entity right there. that's something that I always see around me. Like, I'll like speak to someone, and then like their face will start to like kind of like twitch, and like I start noticing, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm triggering this person's entities in them, and like it's like it's like showing me through their face. You get what I'm saying? So I just learned to be, oh shoot, that scared me. I just learned to be kind and mindful of that, because I mean, sometimes it gets kind of tiring, you know, because you're just like, fuck, like, just be real, man. But you just develop a lot of patience, right? And you just use that opportunity to help people be more who they are, you know? Like, I had situations where I'm the light worker, so I always help people be more of who they are, you know, and become more of who they are. But I've noticed that some people really experience like physical, like literally they'll experience pain, and obviously that's up to the person if they want to heal or not, you know. So you just got to be patient and kind. And if you're like, oh well, I can't help this individual, just giving them a nice little prayer always helps. Okay. Okay, another thing with authenticity. It's really easy, you know. You don't have to go out and buy anything. I don't like wearing makeup. I mean, I wear mascara, but I don't really do my makeup because makeup just feels really heavy on my skin, and I don't know, I just don't like decorating myself like that. So you know, if you're like a person that really struggles like with being who they are because you feel really, really insecure, you use makeup, that's a sign of where you have to heal any insecurities or any traumas that you have. Okay, those are little signs of what you have to heal. That's why I say when you are becoming authentic, it's like a healing path, because you're shedding all these parts of who are not you, and you're letting go of false beliefs about you, you know, because even the beliefs that we have can block our authenticity. You get what I'm saying? Think about this. Like, when you're a child, right? A child doesn't have any beliefs yet. A belief system is cultivated by your environment and by your culture. So sometimes your beliefs even take you away from your authenticity, and that's another good sign or a good indicator to let you know of like, oh, this is something that if you choose, you know, that you can work on or you can transform. I know questioning your beliefs is not easy because it's going against everything that you knew, but honestly, I'm like a free bird, and when I was like healing to be more and more myself, I was like, I wanna let go of everything that holds back who I truly am. You know, like, I just wanted to be who I am. I have situations, honestly, where I've had kind of traumatic experiences because of my authenticity, because you do face the backlash of unauthenticity, but you know, you just get back up, because I choose to always stay true to my path, and I never want to go away from that. And anything, like I said, anything that makes you go away from that, any guy or any girl or any family member or any friend or anything, is not in alignment with you, and you shouldn't be there. You get what I'm saying? Because love accepts you for who you are, you know? Like, the world has a misconception of the universe's love, you know? The universe literally loves every single person on earth, okay? People are the ones that are learning how to love themselves, right? So authenticity is really a journey to self-love, you know? It's a self-love journey. And sometimes people aren't happy because they're just not authentic to themselves, right? Because of trauma, because of whatever they learned at school or whatever when they were young, or oh my god. So a lot of individuals are not happy because they don't feel like they can be themselves, right? But you have to really be serious, you know, you have to really commit to yourself. If you're like, you know what, I want to be authentic, you have to take the steps that you need to do, you know. You can't just say, oh, I want to. No, you got to put in the work, okay? You got to put in the work, and you got to really commit to your journey of self-love. And another thing that I've learned is that our bodies, right, our bodies get sick, you know. Our bodies get sick when we're not authentic to ourselves. Our mind gets sick, our body gets sick. And that's another indicator where authenticity really helps with the journey, because when you're not authentic to yourself, right, your body, everything is really obvious, you know. It's really obvious because your body shapes itself according to what you think and what you feel, right? So when you feel good, right, when you feel self-love and you feel good in your body molds and magnifies exactly that, right? So this is why sometimes humans get themselves sick, because they walk a unauthentic path to themselves. Okay, so that's another reason to commit to this path. Health concerns. Okay. Another thing would be, I would say, inner child healing, okay? Inner child healing. You have to understand that opening your heart to this inner child is really important, okay? And I'll make a separate voice memo of how I do the inner child healings, because this one's already really long and I don't want a long voice memo. But inner child healing, okay? Another thing is you have to really step out of social media, okay? I've learned to use social media as a tool, and I've learned that social media psychologically manipulates us and purposely creates emotions in us to keep us where they want you to be, you know? They want you to be insecure. They want you to feel powerless. They want you to have it a habit, and they want you to continue to consume, okay? This is something that you can read in a book. I took a course in college about social media, and I'm still learning about it, and it's still really true, you know. And it's annoying, you know. It's annoying, but because there's still so much that media still has to improve, but that's where we have to inform ourselves, you know. We have to really understand how media can use us, right? And if it uses you, that's not a good thing, right? So you have to learn how to use it. You have to learn how to use the tool, okay? So you have to really step out of that social media bubble, because like I said, like, they'll feed off of your insecurity. They'll feed off of how you feel like crap. You know, like, sometimes what they post out there is not all true, okay? So just keep that in mind, okay? Well, anyways, that is it for this voice memo, because it's already really long. Have a good day.